now listening to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast.
Welcome to the IndieEye Film Awards podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Dre.
And we are here to give you our feedback and talk about our February 2021 submissions, the first season of IndieEye Film Awards.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Thanks for the rescue. We're just trying to get our footing with this. We've spent so much time watching the submissions, figuring out the website, how we want everything to lay out, and trying to really find the best way to give value back to all of you who have submitted to IndieEye Film Awards. And it's been a blast, really, for an idea that we had just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
What it's become on our end has been so much more than I initially anticipated. I've seen so much great content, and
yeah, like people are really creative.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful mix of all sorts of things, and we've had a bunch of conversation between you and I about everything, and I've been able to reach out to a couple of folks and talk about their films and things like that. But I think now is where we really get to dig into everything that we've received. So just to recap, Dre and I are married. And we are both content creators in our own respects. Just kind of recap what you do.
Sure. I'm a graphic designer. I own Retro Hip Co., which is a design and scrapbooking brand. So in the memory keeping and scrapbooking world, I create YouTube videos and a magazine and content on Instagram for crafty ladies. And I just have a background of art and content creation, essentially.
And in addition to that, you have been a co-producer on a bunch of my work. Yeah. I am an independent filmmaker and a content creator. I've done all sorts of stuff. And really, I hate to just recap any of that. We have an introduction episode. If you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to the introduction episode and you'll hear more about it, because the last thing I really want to do is talk about anything that we do. Our whole lives are just work. We live where we work, and
we work where we live.
And this is really about everything that you all have provided us as entertainment.
Yeah, it's nice to see somebody else's work, I think, versus just our own.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. And so it just goes to say that we have a great understanding, or at least somewhat of an understanding, of the effort that is made to create these types of things. We really have an appreciation for all of the work you've done. And I'd like to preface this entire conversation because some things we may not really be able to get to, some things we may not be able to dive deeply into or really talk about as much as I would like to, just because of time. But if you have managed to submit anything to IndieEye Film Awards or to any other festival or contest, congratulations to you. You're ahead of the game. You've thought of something, you've created it, you've completed it, and you've submitted it. So the fact that you've done that just puts you so far ahead. And congratulations to everybody who had something to submit, because there's a lot of people out there who do a lot of talking about what they're going to do, what they'd like to do, and they never do. So if you did something, that in its own regard is your reward.
Yeah, big props to you.
In the end, our opinions mean nothing. We're completely subjective. We don't.
Yeah, we don't know you.
We're not an authority on anything. We just have some experience in the same kind of stuff you've done. So, if there's something that we talk about that we criticize or give feedback that maybe you're not agreeing with or wanting to hear, well, it doesn't matter. You did something, and And that's great.
Yeah, and regardless of what we say, you totally took all the steps to get it to this point, and it's commendable. Absolutely commendable.
And thank you for choosing IndieEye Film Awards as a place to submit your work. So, now, look, there's not a lot of bad news coming.
No.
I think for the most part, everything that we received was watchable. There was nothing where I went 30 seconds in, I can't do this. And I'm trying not to do that because if you've taken the time and the money to submit, we owe you at least one view of what you're submitting. And I can guarantee you that everything that was submitted was watched at least twice. I mean, the features, a couple of them, only seen once. There's one of them that I've watched like 3 times. But we have seen everything. And if there's shorts and music videos, things like that, I've definitely seen it more than once. I've just really tried to gather my thoughts. So let's just start talking about what we got. What's the first thing on the list?
The first one we're going to talk about, the category first of documentary shorts. And the first one on that list is A Bard for the Ages.
Yes. This one is directed by Brian Barsuglia, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And this is a doc short about the overall legacy of William Shakespeare and his works. And what I really like about this piece is that Shakespeare is so near and dear to me, and of course, it's near and dear to many people. That's not unique, but it comes right after a time where I used a lot of Shakespeare stuff in the last project that I worked on, a lot of references to it. So I was really excited to sit down and watch this. And Brian, good job to you for gathering as many people as you did to talk about Shakespeare and his impact. So what I would say about A Bard for the Ages is that the premise or the promise of what this doc short could have been didn't quite fulfill itself. Like, while I enjoyed what everyone was saying, I just felt like it was missing a lot of potential B-roll, or that maybe these actors, the people who were talking, could have been in a different setting, because what I saw is a lot of black backdrop. The people who were speaking were right up against the backdrop.
So the shadow showed through a lot.
Yeah, there's harsh shadows. It's just... And I did the same kind of stuff in like 2005 where I look back on it and I go, oh gosh. And so I'm really kind of projecting at my own problem with that kind of setup. I just felt like really any backdrop that you could have just made out of focus would have been better than using a black sheet. And really no B-roll. There's hardly any. Now, visually, I didn't get a sense of Shakespeare at all. I mean, even if maybe like a handful of the actors dressed in character, or, even something visually to tell me, but like you said, B-roll would have been really nice. Anything visually that said this is Shakespeare related would have been even better. Right. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's a great idea. I didn't think of that either.
I just thought of it right now.
Yeah. Now, it does later on where you do have actors acting out lines, and the scenes, the setting is very different, and that's all wonderful. It was just a little more eye candy to look at rather than people sitting and talking, because like the worst sin was committed here while watching. I think both of us grabbed our phones. You never want that to happen. So hard to accomplish that these days in this day and age, but since there was nothing going on visually, we could still listen and pay attention and then check on everything else that's going on in our lives, and I hate that.
Yeah.
So I wanted my eye to be stuck on this because I really love the topic. I thought what everyone said was great.
Yeah, I love the intermix. I didn't expect there to be the intermixing of the Shakespeare lines. Right. I didn't expect that, so that was a good surprise.
Yeah. So great topic. And again, Brian, great job for getting something accomplished, getting it done, getting it submitted. We appreciated the opportunity to watch it. And I would say just going forward, not that you asked for my opinion, Brian, but going forward, if you're going to do something like this, just try to try to get a little creative with, even with what's in the backdrop.
Yeah, it's real simple. It's a simple thing to do, you think, but it does take practice for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know what else Brian has done.
Yeah.
But I appreciated watching this, and thank you very much for your submission. So the next one I want to talk about is Inner Portraits. And this is directed by Christian Bursey. This was done in Australia. And this is a documentary short about two artists, a photographic artist, R.J. Poole, and painter Anna Nordstrom. These people are so talented. R.J. Poole comes from drawing, but it went into photographs. I mean, you saw these images.
They are stunning.
Very striking, thought-provoking. They evoke quite a bit of emotion, and just sitting there pausing and looking at the images, I found myself doing, because it was just so much eye candy to look at from R.J. Poole's photography work, which is mesmerizing, and Anna Nordstrom's beautiful paintings. And what I found interesting is that they're doing this in Australia in areas that aren't very populated, so it's difficult to get your everyday inspiration for everything. They're really drawing from what's around them. And also, this was shot during the shutdowns in Australia for COVID. So what Christian Bursey was able to put together under these limitations is quite impressive. This is a great little documentary. There's personal history elements to it that make it very interesting and bring more full meaning to both of their artwork. I thought the editing was great. The talking head shots are beautiful, just well shot, well lit. Everything about this little doc was fantastic. I really appreciated watching it. I think anybody would be inspired, especially if you're an artist, inspired by these thought-provoking images. They're just so interesting and striking.
Yeah, and they're portraits, but they're not just like your traditional family photo in, up against a brick wall or in the middle of a field. You're not talking about that. You're talking about bodies in interesting positions, very symmetrical types of composition. It's the human body and people in ways that you wouldn't normally see them, but it's not grotesque. It's not perverse. It's just such an interesting view of people.
Yes, and the things that they're doing are interesting, and the setting around them is interesting, and the things that Anna chooses to paint are very interesting, and even just down to the title of the artwork I found really interesting. And I'm an art geek. I love this kind of stuff, so obviously I really enjoyed this documentary, but just from a technical standpoint, Christian, you did an amazing job here, and I think this was just a top contender for me in the documentary short category. If it wasn't for our winner, Inner Portraits would have been the winner, and I can certainly see Inner Portraits winning documentary short in any other film festival. We just happen to have some tough competition, and you'll find out why here in a moment. But Christian Bursey, Inner Portraits, if you get a chance to see it, definitely check it out, or look for the artwork of R.J. Poole and Anna Nordstrom. Thank you, Christian, for bringing these people to our attention. Excellent job.
So let's talk about the winner, since we are not really we don't have enough time really to talk about all the documentary shorts that we received. This one is called Sometimes I Cry in June.
Wow.
Sometimes I cry in February when I watch this.
Yeah. As impressive as Inner Portraits was, visually, Shamika Sawyer, who directed this, did so much with so little, but what she had was super powerful, super personal. This is a story about Shamika and her mother dealing with the loss of her brother, her mother's son. And it is so touching. She sits down, frames up a beautiful interview shot of herself, and just goes. And the shot was well thought out. I know, at least I'm guessing, Shamika, there is a lot of footage on the floor of you being quiet and thinking and probably crying, because that seemed like it would have been really difficult to get through. This was such a touching story about your brother. I wish I would have known the guy. He seems like he would have been right up my alley. And the way you did this with your own home footage and whatever raw material you had, it was phenomenal.
Yeah, beautiful tribute to him for sure.
And it's not just one person. You really have to see this documentary to feel the depth of grief, and experience this really beautiful way that Shamika is dealing with the loss of these people who were very important in her life. Now, Shamika is a filmmaker. She's founded the 5 Shorts Project, and you can find the link to that if you click on the image on our winners page. You'll be able to go right to that and find out more about her. And she uses that experience and talent to process this very personal situation she's gone through. And it's just so endearing. And while it's gritty, it's like street level.
Yeah. There's no music bed. It's raw. It really is, especially when they're just talking. It's raw.
Right. And that's a challenge. That's incredibly challenging. Everybody wants to lean on a music bed, especially when you're doing something of
emotion. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the music will tell you how to feel, essentially.
Right. And that's such a crutch that we all use. And she didn't have to do that at all. It's just her mom, and these clips of her brother. And you want to meet the guy. And then you feel sad because you can't.
Yeah.
He's not there. And he's not our brother.
Right.
It's her brother. She's
Right.
the one who's dealing with the grief. But I feel like I've lost out too, because now I can't DM the guy and be like, hey, I saw the movie with you in it. Great job. I want to hear some bars from Tanch. So, just Shamika Sawyer, Sometimes I Cry in June, is our documentary short winner for February of 2021 for the IndieEye Film Awards. And I want to say thank you for submitting and sharing this story in this beautiful piece. I think this has influenced me, because I think just by Shamika being raw and brave with how she presented, I feel like I can now, if I have to go do a doc where I'm doing a talking head thing, I feel like as long as the story's good enough, Shamika just showed me you don't need to lean on all the extra production all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm sure she can do it. In this case, it required some intelligent restraint to stay away from all that and just let this be a family processing their grief. And she did it, and I can't say enough about it. Great job, Shamika. And I'm terribly sorry for your loss.
Now let's talk about another category, music videos.
Yeah, we got a handful of really fun music videos. Well, some of them weren't fun. Some of them intentionally had very deep meaning to them. And I don't want to categorize that as fun. But everything was very well done and, were great submissions. Now, I don't want to get too bogged down into every music video. And one of them we're actually writing a review for. That you by the time you hear this podcast, if you go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and click on the review page, you'll be able to see the review. And we did a review for Make America Love Again. But let's just cut right to the winner of this one. So there's a lot I want to say about it, and I had a blast watching it.
This was so fun.
Yes. The winner for Best Music Video for IndieEye Film Awards for February 2021 is We're Getting Somewhere by Alec Gaston. I believe that's how you pronounce your name. This was just super fun to watch. Now, I gotta be real. Mm-hmm. We started it, and
I was a little unsure.
Alec, I was scared because this is a video that's over 7 minutes long. And if you're not Michael Jackson or R. Kelly doing a mini movie in your video, your music video should not be 7 minutes long. If you're not the Rolling Stones or Fish, your music shouldn't be 7 minutes long. But your music really wasn't 7 minutes long because there's 2 minutes of what I would classify as WTF, and then you kick in to this super fun song and super fun video. So listen, my feedback here, not that you asked for it, is to cut that first 2 minutes of beach wandering out, because just get your audience right to you, right to the guitar, and dig in your personality. Alec is a really talented individual. I love the song. He's playing guitar. He's dancing around in his own world.
A lot of different costumes. Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah, I felt like there was there was something of this Donald Glover, Lenny Kravitz kind of vibe.
Oh, yeah.
But it's him.
Yeah.
He's not stealing from
He
anybody.
isn't. No, not at all.
You just feel like in the way that those guys are 100% them and genuine, you feel that way about Alec.
Yeah. He owned every square inch of that persona, like whatever he looked like, did in that video, however he danced and moved, like that was absolutely 100% authentic.
And the cinematography was really fun. Like I love the shot in the mirror where he's getting his hair done.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for submitting, Alec. And to the director, Lou Blackman, great job, you guys. Again, trim that first 2 minutes off. Or don't.
Yeah, it was almost like an interlude, but usually those are like a separate track.
Yeah, but in a world where we have short attention spans,
it's true.
And in entertainment, if you're not writing a script and you're not getting them on the first page, this just felt like it took me 20 pages in to get to what I really wanted.
And it was good once we got there. Like, it wasn't that it wasn't good watching the first 2 minutes. It was just like we didn't understand what we were supposed to be enjoying about it. I didn't get the intent yet. But once the actual song starts and you're just like gigging, it was great. And also in a world where we want everything to go viral, it's tougher to share and want somebody to watch a 7-minute video. That's true.
Than, a 5 or sub 5 minute video. So it'd be easier to share. But, art is subjective and it is what you want it to be. And whether those first 2 minutes exist or not, you gave us something really fun to watch and we appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you very much. And
congratulations, because you're the winner.
Absolutely. All right, Dre, the next category we're going to get to is narrative shorts. There were a lot.
A lot.
I can't get to all of them, but I would like to talk about as many as I can. This actually forced us to create an honorable mention
list.
Yeah, because it's so hard to declare a winner, and there's others that are worthy of winning, and being that it's subjective in who we choose, just depending on who sees it could choose it as a winner. And there's things that just should be talked about and mentioned because of the work and the effort that went into it. The first one I want to talk about is Etch, which is directed by Kenneth Perkins. And Etch is, man, this is a great short film. I will start off by saying that I think it's a 16-minute short film that I think would have been a very strong 10-minute short film. There was some redundancy in the dialogue, and you get nitpicky about writing and stuff, which I am. I'm super. I criticize myself a lot with the writing, but I just think it could have been a little bit tighter. But it's okay that it's not. The premise is really good, and I guess I don't want to spoil anything that we talk about. But the premise of this film is that a young boy receives an Etch-a-Sketch, and what he draws comes to life. So it starts off very charming, and it may go into different directions. But what I wanted to say without spoiling anything is that I thought the practical effects and the visual effects that you used were just fascinating for this budget. It was really impressive. Shots were impressive. I appreciated the very clean audio. This was a fun watch. This was a submission we got that I absolutely appreciated and had a good time watching. And is very difficult to. This is one of the short films that makes it difficult to declare a winner, because you want to declare like 12 of them are winners. I want you all to be happy. I couldn't with Etch. Not that it doesn't deserve to be a winner, and I think if Kenneth, if you submitted this to some more genre appropriate or specific is the better word, genre specific festivals, I think it's something really difficult to deal with for other filmmakers. So I hope to see more laurels come your way, and I'd like to see what you do next, because I thought this was just an excellent effort. So good job. And the next short that I want to mention is Severance, directed by Elijah Rodriguez. There are some super cool elements with Severance.
Yeah, I liked this one.
You're starting in the middle of the story, which I always love for shorts. I think with shorts, it's so difficult because you're trying to do a 3-act structure within a very short amount of time. And Severance is not even 8 minutes long. It's 7.5 minutes long. And you're dropping us in right where it's beginning, but you're asking questions. You kind of get an idea what's going on. And then you do some really cool twists with the cinematography and the storytelling that I thought was just awesome. So it was a fun watch. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I thought the acting was really good. In what am I saying? In the
it's hard to not spoil anything.
I know. I felt like she was clearly in the character. Like, she was confused when she needed to be confused. She was, asking the right questions, and I appreciated her as an actor, as the character. That's what I want to say.
Right. And if I'm going to do any nitpicking at all, I think there's some very minor visual details that should have been addressed. For example, if you're going to do something with an object, that object should reflect that thing you did with it.
Yes.
And that's all I'll really say there. Yeah. But Elijah, great job. I like your style. I'd love to see what it is you do next. And to do this, the resources were obviously minimal, but you did great with a hotel room.
And looked like maybe a storage room.
Yeah, whatever else you used, it was super effective, because I felt, we were in the right places we needed to be. Yep. And it just looked like a lot of care was given to the short film. And congratulations to you and the cast and everybody involved. Thank you for the submission. We couldn't pick it as a winner because of the depth of competition, but I did want to mention it because I thought it was just such a fun watch. Yeah,
it was a really cool story. I liked from beginning to end.
Okay, Dre, so next I want to talk about Timely. What did you think about Timely?
I have maybe a few thoughts about Timely. They're not positive, but here we are.
Well, I think there are certainly positives, but I think most of what we got out of it is I wanted to hug these guys, and I wanted to tell
There
them,
was effort. There was so much effort.
and it was really cool. You got to shoot this at a church, but the setting within the story is not a church, so you had access to this location, and I think there was a concept here that is super cool.
Yeah. I think we get what it was supposed to be. There was just some story issues that were hard to understand. And the audio made it hard to be really pulled into the story.
Right. And let me just say that we're not talking about it because we didn't enjoy it. If we're mentioning it, it's because we had something to say about it. We watched it. We enjoyed the experience to watch it, but we just have something to say. And I love the ambition of the director, Cole James Anderson. The concept is great. I just felt like a little more care should have been taken into the storytelling aspect of it. Now, you didn't have a lot of time. You kept this. This is a great short runtime of 4 minutes, 45 seconds. If you're trying to get programmed into a festival, remember when we had festivals, people could be in person and people could see things on screens. If you're trying to get this program, that's a brilliant time. So it is a challenge to fit this big concept that you have into this short amount of time. But I felt like if the audio was cared for a little bit more, there was times where you couldn't hear what the person was saying.
So I didn't know what was happening.
And with the particular the car hit portion of it should have been there's ways you could have done that more visually rather than what you chose to go with. Because what you chose to go with visually didn't make a lot of sense to me, and then combined with audio where you're not quite ready to understand what that was, and then in the end when that's kind of revealed what that sound is and what's going on in that frame, you're not even really hinting at it before. Like, I realized you can't just hit somebody with your car. You can't pull that off in camera at this budget. But I think there are ways you could make the car move and have a person react and then have a cutaway shot, or maybe the reaction of the guy who saw this, was watching this take place, rather than just cut away to trees and have the sound. So that was a bit confusing for me. And again, some of the dialogue really hard to understand. The music was good, but it was overpowering the dialogue.
Yes.
And I felt more driven by the music than the story, and you don't want that. At least I don't.
And the dialogue, I felt just along the lines of the story needed a little bit of, some finesse.
Yeah.
So did the dialogue. The dialogue, if it would have been tighter, if there would have been more of it to help explain what was happening, because you only have 4 minutes to tell a story. It is not a long time, and you really have to get the picture.
Right. If the dialogue was more descriptive without being too much exposition, I guess is what we're saying. And that is a tricky thing to do. It's about honing your craft. But for what this is, it looks like maybe you had a couple hours at this church to get this done and you knocked it out. And congratulations to you for getting it done and having something to submit. Now you build on this and go forward. I think it's a pretty fun concept. Like, we want to know what was behind that door that he was projecting. So you're posing questions.
Right. And we never really get that payoff of what it was either.
Maybe the payoff is in the next
is a sequel.
So, hey, congratulations. And you got it done. It was fun to watch, and actually we watched it 3 times because we wanted to make sure that we weren't missing something, and maybe we still were. But then that's your fault, okay? That's not my fault. But so hey, we watched it 3 times, and while we can't give it a winner, there's some other strong competition. I did want to give that feedback. And congratulate you for getting something like that done. It was super ambitious, and that's what I liked about it. It was this high concept. It wasn't a drug addict dealing with their depression
Right.
during a time of COVID.
Yeah.
It was something that was, tough to pull off.
Yeah.
And you gave it a shot and you took a big swing at it. So great job.
Since we're giving out constructive criticism, why don't we talk about the misfit?
Yes. Okay, we can. Let's do that. Chris Taylor directed The Misfit. The Misfit is a narrative short. It's 25 minutes long. And Chris, I preface this with the disclaimer that you made something, you put a lot of effort into it, and you got it finished. That's the big win here, and you build on that, you go from here. The ambition, the drive, those are the tools you need. Now you go on, you get better, and you learn. So that being said, The Misfit is an ambitious tale of really a deplorable young man that is getting an opportunity to get out of prison, but he has to work at the last place that he robbed.
That got him in prison.
Which led to his arrest, yes. And the premise of this story is so rich. You could have so much comedic fun with this. And I just felt like it missed the mark. I wanted the character to be more funny, and he was just kind of a jerk, and there was no arc. So he didn't go from one thing and become another. That didn't translate. There's a lot of people that worked really hard on this. You could tell the effort that was going on, and everyone's given their best. But with something like this, I felt it was an okay 25-minute short film that probably could have been an excellent under 10-minute short film, because it just feels like there's a lot of stuff that doesn't need to be there. Dialogue choices that are not great writing. But you got to start somewhere.
You do. You have to figure out what works, and you really have to practice.
Right.
Not everybody just starts out being amazing writers, directors, filmmakers, editors, music pickers. Like, you don't get all of those right out of the gate.
Music picker.
It's an official title.
All right. But what's important here is the tools are strong. Chris, you had a fun premise. The premise is great. So you don't have any trouble coming up with ideas. But the execution on this, and I would say this would be 100 times an easier watch if the audio was better. And I was looking through your pictures, and I see on production you've got a boom involved, but I don't know where that boom was placed, because a lot of the dialogue just sounds like that boom is not in the right shot, or not in the right place during the shot. And you want to know how I know that, Chris? Because that's happened with me over and over and over. And it's hard to get somebody who's a dedicated boom operator who A, knows where that microphone needs to point, knows how close it needs to be, and will do it for 30 minutes while you're trying to get takes. So look,
It's a struggle.
right. It's everything about this is very difficult. So the fact that you pulled off this entire story and have it on screen and presented it is a win. But that audio's got to be better. And this isn't just directed at you, Chris. There were a lot of submissions where, look, people, if you want to submit, if you're going to pay money to enter into an awards event or a festival or have people see your stuff, respect the people reviewing your stuff enough to care for the audio. That's number one. I don't care if you're shooting this on a Arri Alexa or Red or on your phone. Get that audio right. It doesn't cost a lot of money to buy a cheap microphone and get that close to the actors. It's never been more affordable to get good audio in your productions. And I can't stress that enough. And that goes for a lot of people. So, Chris, I just felt like The Misfit would have been an easier watch for 25 minutes if the audio was better. And that goes into all aspects of production audio, capturing your room tone, processing everything right, loudness normalizing, compression, in the mix and everything like that. But there are times where there's a shot of something and then it cuts to another shot of that something and it's just slightly at a different angle. That's very disruptive. So just a little more forethought on what you're shooting and how you're going to edit that. Now, that's all. These are all things you probably just learned making this movie. And the next time you're making something, all of this you're already thinking about. I mean, I make films. I know all of my mistakes. I can't even watch my latest film without thinking, "Oh, there's a problem. There's a problem. Should have done that better." But I learn all this, and then we take it forward into the next thing. And I think that's what Chris is going to do, because he shows me that he has the audacity to make a film. He has the ambition to make a film, and he has the courage to put it out there for folks to watch and for nobodies like me to criticize. But I'm really patting you on the back, Chris, because, hey, I know people who have been to film school who haven't put anything out in decades. So you already ahead of the pack, like I've said, several times. Don't get down by what I'm saying. I hope you've already learned. Anything I'm saying, you probably already know. You seem like you're the type of ambitious person who's already on top of that. So great job on getting it done. Thank you for submitting, and I hope any of that is helpful for you going forward. I'd look forward to seeing what you make next, because I thought the premise was great.
Okay, now I want to talk about Last Call.
Yes.
It was really good. I actually really enjoyed start to finish. And what I want to say is that I actually thought that the dialogue felt natural between them, which is hard to do.
I agree. Last Call is directed by Paul Zaccaria, and it is a short film at 9 minutes, 49 seconds. Great job coming in under 10 minutes. Again, easy to get that programmed. And I think this is the type of short film that could easily be selected for programming in any festival. And another standout for me here was the lead, Brian Erickson. I thought he was really natural. Guy's got a great look, delivered his lines really well. He's someone I could easily see making a leap into Hollywood and doing bigger things. I thought his reactions were natural and genuine, and I felt for him as a character. And Last Call has a setting in a bar, and I thought that was pulled off really well.
Yeah, the sound constantly with the clinking and the talking, it really put you there.
Yeah, there's good wah-wah behind everything. And it's not predictable. There's a...
True.
There's some great...
some little twists and turns.
Yeah, it's fun storytelling. And I really enjoyed watching it. It was definitely right up there in competition with us. And I think this is a very strong short film that you should watch if you get the chance. If I had any criticism at all, or just feedback, I would say that I felt the character of Nathan himself as the lead didn't have much of an arc within this short story. He was there. We find out something that about him, but we really don't have him go from this place to this place. And I feel like his story is left unsatisfied, while somebody else in the film actually has an arc that plays out.
Yeah, and I felt like the other person in the movie should have benefited from his story. And my personal criticism is that she didn't benefit from his story, and that's, I guess, the tragedy of what happens at the end. But I like things wrapped up in pretty bows, sometimes with happy endings, and I felt like his life story or his situation or what he had gone through did not assist someone. You know what I'm saying?
Spoiler.
Sorry. But what I will say is I loved the look of it. I loved the warm tones in the colors. I liked that it felt like you were in a bar. It was lowly lit. It was not lit.
It was lit.
It was lit properly.
It was low light.
It was low light.
Low lighty.
And I felt like that was consistent throughout him being in an alleyway, and even with the other character being in a different location, I still felt like it had a clean look, a similar look throughout the film. And I liked the composition. Shots were well done. Blocking was well placed. Characters felt like they were in the right spots. It didn't feel amateur in the way that it was shot.
I completely agree. And Paul Zakaria, he's young. He's 27. And to have put this all together at 27, you can tell he's just going to be getting better. It shows how much he cares about what he's making. And that's just going to be a snowball that keeps getting bigger and bigger as he keeps pushing forward. So great job, Paul. Last Call was a very fun watch. And I appreciate the submission. And what I want to get to next is Darker Darkest, directed by Jerome Valinsky. This was one of our really good submissions. The production quality is so great. From the visual aesthetic, the sound is great. The premise is really fun. What I had an issue here with was the writing. The writing was super repetitive. And I felt like this was a 14.5-minute short film that probably should have been under 7. Just because there was a lot of redundancy and, speaking of being redundant, repetitive lines, baby.
It's like the typical thing that we criticize a lot when we watch movies, even really good movies, is when the character gets asked a question and they say what, and it makes the other character have to repeat themselves and say the same thing in a different way. It's like, it's not necessary. Like we heard it. Like,
yeah,
expect that the audience knows what you're doing.
And Jerome, your premise is good. Everything about the film is good. Your tension is already there. And I feel like you're intentionally drawing that tension out when it doesn't need to be. Like you've already won this race. Keep it tight and short. And it's a great little short film. Now, it's worth the watch. It's super interesting, and I don't want to say too much about what goes on. But if it's a nightmare scenario of waking up in the middle of the night and there's a potential intruder that you're concerned about. So it asks a lot of questions, has some, goes in places you don't expect it to go. So just very fun. And you're shooting in this smartly, practically lit house at night. Your average person may not have several lamps on in their house as they're sleeping. These didn't really stand out to me, and I thought it just made it this beautiful aesthetic, and it helped him cheat with shooting in this dark environment, which I am all about cheating in a dark
smart
environment. So that was just really good, but it looked really well. I thought your lead actor performed really well, so you directed the crap out of that, and good job to you. I just felt like if the writing was a little tighter and the story was a little tighter, this would be so close to being our winner, just because of the effort, the beauty in it, and the great sound. Great job in getting this done. I was just saying, going forward, see how much of your next screenplay you can trim down, and how much you can show rather than tell.
Okay, I have a question for you, though.
Yeah.
Is it Star Wars time?
Oh, it can be. Yes. Oh my gosh. How fun is this? So one of the submissions was a super fun project called Rogue 7, a Star Wars fan film, and this was directed by James Martinez. And I get nervous when I see a Star Wars fan film by anybody because, look, Star Wars has its own problems trying to put out Star Wars content that's consumable. So, and while I'm not a Star Wars hater. I love Star Wars. Grew up with Star Wars, of course. A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. You know, those are all part of my DNA. And while I don't hate the prequels and the sequels, I don't particularly care for them. But I'm just happy that there's more Star Wars out there with Mandalorian, and I mean, just any additional Star Wars content we can get in the universe. It just makes the world a better place, in my opinion. And James Martinez and his crew really gave us something fun to watch. I enjoyed it from start to finish, and you know, we've got some nitpicks, but I just feel like it's so they're so minor because you're tackling an IP that everybody loves and has feelings about, and you're trying to accomplish this feat with special effects that are not available for everybody, and it's hard to pull off all this stuff. And the truth is, you guys did it. And, you know, there's no lightsaber battles in this film, but it's a great Rogue Squadron type setting where we have you have the feeling like you're on a different planet. You're on a spaceship. You're in an X-wing. You've got droids. We'll talk more about the score and the sound design later, but I just felt like this was really well done. There really wasn't any point in watching it where I went, oof, that's bad. And that's great.
Yeah, and it does not disappoint on action. Like from the very first scene, it's action-packed. It's a fun ride.
It looks good, and it's got a super consistent look, which is really hard to pull off when you're daytime exterior trying to do something outside, and then you're in not a TIE fighter, but an X-wing, and you're in a spaceship, and you're doing all these different locations, and it's just looks supreme. I'm super happy I got to watch this. I hope any Star Wars fan will go to our winners page, go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com, to our winners page, and you'll be able to click on. Was that a spoiler? I just spoiled.
Yeah, I was gonna say we haven't said.
Sorry, but I want people to go see this because if you go to the winners page, you will see. We'll just get this out of the way now, I guess. We have no structure. We're trying to get this done.
You have a small structure.
So James and team with Rogue 7, we gave you guys the winner slot for best sound design and for best original score. And I think those are just super well earned. I felt like I was watching a Star Wars movie, and that is so hard to do. It's really difficult to pull that off, and I can tell that you put a lot of care into making sure the viewer felt like they were watching something that was in a galaxy far, far away. And really, that's what's important. Do I feel like I'm watching Star Wars? And I did. And that's enough for me. Because if I was going to give any feedback at all, again, James, not that you asked for it, but the story, I was kind of just not interested in the story. I really didn't care too much about what was going on. I didn't care much about the characters we were supposed to care about. The one character I cared the most about was the villain, because I thought he was playing it in such a great, over-the-top way that wasn't overly cheesy, but it was just fun to see what he was going to do next. And I felt like you took the same kind of chances I would want to take in dialogue, with like the "he did" kind of line. I mean, that's just straight out of what speaks to me. With you're not trapping yourself into what people should say. You're going for what's funny, and you did that a lot, and I appreciate that. And that made it so much fun to watch. And you could tell everybody involved was just on board, given 100%. And that's tough. But it just seems like while you guys were making it, you probably had a blast making it. And that's a great environment. So I would say, not from knowing anybody, but I bet James is a really good director, and that team had fun working with him. At least that's what it seems like. And they have this available on YouTube. So if you go to our website and the winners page, you'll find Rogue 7, a Star Wars fan film. Click on the image, and it'll take you right to their YouTube video, and you need to go pause this podcast right now.
Well, no, finish the podcast.
Forget the podcast. We're nobody. Go see James Martinez's Rogue 7, and then come back to the podcast. I don't care. But it needs to be watched, and it was super appreciated. Thank you so much for the submission. I hope I see more Star Wars fan films from this team. I'd love to see these guys carry on and maybe introduce more story into this spectacle that they're able to pull off.
Actually, that's a really good idea, because we just didn't have enough time to really, because there was a lot of characters. We didn't have a lot of time to get to know who they were, because they're in action, they're dealing with something at the time when we're supposed to be learning about character development. That's maybe not what it's about. It's about the fun, and it really was.
Yeah, and that's the challenge of a short film.
Yeah.
And I will say that this is a 15-minute short film that I would have preferred to be 30 minutes or feature length, because it doesn't feel like 15 minutes. We watched it several times. It is a fast 15 minutes, which is an excellent job, not only in trying to get us through the story, but your editing worked really well too. It's just effortless to watch and enjoyable. So let's stop gushing about Rogue 7. Tell everyone to go watch it.
Go watch Rogue 7.
And congratulations for taking home, we don't have any trophies, but the laurels you can use for Best Sound Design and Best Original Score. Thanks a lot, guys.
Do you want to talk about the winner now?
Let me just really quick hit on one more submission, because I had a quick email exchange with this submitter, and I just want to make sure that I give some feedback before we go all in on our winner. So Youth Erosion is an 8-minute, 34-second short film submitted by Jessica Friedman, and I think this one's interesting to talk about because it seems like there's a lot beneath the aesthetic surface of this particular short film. It takes so much to put a film together, and the courage to put it out there and submit it. And I just applaud anybody who does that. And I know I keep saying that, but it's true. I can't say it enough. But the production problems with Youth Erosion or just we couldn't ignore that. And what I mean, Jessica, is that while a lot of the footage is intentionally, I get, out of focus, there's a lot that should be in focus that's not. The sound design is just, or your audio is just completely lacking. And like we touched on before,
it's so important to pull you into that story.
Yeah, because we want to be brought into this story you're telling. And there's a lot that's just not done properly with audio. Like, I don't know that you used a mic at all. I think this was shot completely without a mic, because it sounds like onboard audio.
It does, because you can hear everything no matter what place they're in, and it's all different.
And your environment sound changes when you change shots when two people are in one area, so there's no mixing of it doesn't flow sound. So that was all really tough. And again, this is something where the writing, I think, could have been more expressive than it was, because I'll bet Jessica is a little bit more creative than what's on screen here and the dialogue that's being said. So there's room for improvement. And I bet there's going to be a next step that she takes to get something done, because this is somebody who clearly wants to put the effort in to make expressive art. But I will say, great job to Jessica for getting this done. I assume this took a lot of courage and overcoming self-doubt to even get it together and put it out there, and that's something to applaud. just the next thing you do, Jessica, make sure you get somebody to help you who's going to take care of that sound.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be you. You don't have to master all of these things, but you do have to know how important it is to either learn how to do it or know how to pick out the right person that can help you do it right.
Right, absolutely. Another one that I wanted to address real quick is I forgot to say thank you. This was submitted by Brandon Scales, who also stars in it, and it's directed by Miguel Antonio. This was a beautiful little short film, and it came so close.
It was.
It came so close to just knocking it out of the park, and it's at 7 minutes, 17 seconds. The acting is fantastic. The dialogue is fantastic. I just love how this plays out. Brandon, you did an amazing job in this performance, and I felt that this character had an opportunity to come out of it differently than when he came into it. So what I'm saying is, I felt like the arc for your character just didn't pay off at the end, because at the end, he's still sitting there, and well, I guess I have to kind of tell the story.
You did a little bit.
I should now. Okay, so, spoiler alert for I forgot to say thank you. Brandon's character is homeless. You can clearly tell he's going through some hard times. He comes in to a bar that his brother owns.
It appears,
or is at least running, and is asking for some money. We all have that member of the family who's a bum. My family thinks it's me. And
it's not true. My gosh.
I know, it's my brother. But no, it's my sister.
It's okay. It's my brother.
No. But we've got this great, sincere character who comes in asking for help. The family member is upset with him, has anger over the things that this guy's done in the past, the choices he's made. They have this really beautiful exchange. And you're rooting for Brandon's character at the end of this. And at the end of this, he's sitting down
next to a dumpster,
drinking out of, something that's in a paper bag. Yeah. So I wanted to see, this isn't my film, this isn't my vision, but I just wanted to express that the final shot I would have wanted to see is maybe him going and maybe a brief montage of him washing his face and then going into a store that says "Help Wanted," on the window, something where he's going to go in the direction of being better and maybe being self-sufficient, and just to see him at the end almost still defeated. I felt defeated as the viewer, but I thought everything you guys did was fantastic. Brandon, your performance was really wonderful. I would love to see you in any Hollywood project. I think you got the chops. You have what it takes. Just couldn't have enjoyed it more. Other than that, you just left me feeling like I wanted to see you win at the end. Yeah,
I agree, and I get that conversation that they had definitely could have gone either way. But I guess it is just, who do you want that character to be? And I guess in this particular film, maybe he wanted that conversation to dig the character deeper into that hole he was in versus lifting him up, which is probably what happens more often, is having a difficult conversation with someone who you've disappointed could definitely keep you down. It definitely could, dig you a little further. But I think I also agree. I personally wanted to see him take that conversation as the hand or the help up, that he was looking for in asking for a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I wish he would have taken that.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little step, different step.
Great job.
But that's not how life works.
Right, yeah. And
we don't always get happy endings. Sorry. Right. Was I loud?
Yes. But Miguel Antonio, Brandon Scales, your cast, your crew, great job, you guys. This is a wonderful little short film that I'm sure can get programmed in anywhere, because it looks good, it sounds good, and you guys do a wonderful job with the acting.
Those were some really amazing films that we watched, but let's jump into the cinematography or best cinematography category.
So in this category, there were we had a lot of options.
Yeah.
And this it was really a toss-up between our winner and, for me, 20 Days, which is one of our honorable mentions.
Which is one of the ones I really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was really good. And I think what the difference between 20 Days and our winner is that our winner is longer and it's more consistent with the cinematography. There's a lot more variation. There's more challenges to make it look good. I mean, what Faraz Alam did in 20 Days, the story he told without having to be super expository about it, was beautiful. And the images are clean and beautiful. And I thought it was such a great job. But here's where this particular issue, where this short film is so short against another film that was 17 minutes long and had a lot more visual challenges. So Faraz Alam, you did an amazing job, and we enjoyed 20 Days.
Yeah, I loved the story and how it came full circle for that character without any dialogue.
Yeah.
It was all visual and audible, like just music and great shots. It was absolutely beautiful.
Right. But our winner for Best Cinematography goes to Florence and Normandy, which was directed by Riley Robbins. And while I'm not a huge fan of the very on-the-nose dialogue in this film, they really crushed it with the cinematography, because it's moody when it needs to be. It captures everything you want to see. Like, having made films myself, I'm seeing some of these images like, ooh, that would have been a tough room to shoot in, tough lighting to shoot in, and you guys just knocked it out of the park. And for 17 minutes, you remained very consistent with that quality. So great job there, Riley Robbins and Florence and Normandy. Congratulations to you guys for Best Cinematography.
So we do have one last film to talk about in this narrative shorts category. Okay. And it really, really struck both of us. I loved it. And, spoiler, it's our winner.
Yes, and also, interesting enough, fun tidbit here, this was the very first submission we received for IndieEye Film Awards.
No way, I didn't know that.
That's how it worked out. Yeah. And so, this is a Korean filmmaker. Her name is Woon-Ye Han. I'm probably getting that wrong, but I'm trying my best to get it right. And this film is called Fix Me. Now, while we had several shorts that, you know, that are full of spectacle, that are fun to watch, that have a lot of tension, that are just done well, we chose Fix Me because it just had the whole package.
Yeah, it was a package, just could not be compared to visually, the sound, the music, the acting was just top notch.
You can tell that Woon-Ye Han cared so much about this, and I saw the behind the scenes photographs on Film Freeway. There's a huge crew that's involved. So, you know, hey, if you submitted a short film and you had like 2 people helping you, or it was just you, listen, we're all under the gun here, because she came with a crew. She had a really wonderful location, just excellent people helping her. This film was beautiful from start to finish in the framing and the colors.
Yeah.
And I just enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, and visually it had so many layers. It has graphic visual effects. It has amazing color and an amazing aesthetic when you learn that there's like a kind of a second story inside of the story. The way that she differentiates between those 2 stories. So at first I was a little confused because it was like you're going back and forth, and I was like, wait, what's happening? And then I realized it. And when I knew, okay, I get it now, it was just like then I was in for the ride, and it was very cool to see the completion of the story and how it just exposed just a really neat, very charming character. To me, it was the character.
Right.
It seems
very sincere.
Yeah.
And genuine. And the cinematography is just
oh my gosh,
point.
It was so good.
It's well thought out. It's well framed. And when you have the time and ability to execute that, it just comes off so well. And that's what Fix Me does. It tells a really beautiful story. It tells it well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The sound, I mean, part of, and Matt and I he gets a little irritated with me sometimes when I don't want to watch certain movies, because movies force me to feel a certain way, and I don't like being told how to feel. And music does that a lot in movies. For me, I'm driven by the way that music swells and ebbs and flows, and that, will make me emotional. And sometimes I don't like to be forced into that. But this really did that, and it did it so well. It made you feel exactly how you should have felt if you were experiencing this.
I think the important element to that is that the music accentuated the story.
Yeah.
It didn't necessarily tell you how to feel.
That's true. It
was supporting what was being
shown.
And
when those two things work together, it's the best.
Yeah, it's a great mix.
Yeah.
And you pulled it off. So we gave Fix Me our winner for narrative short for the IndieEye Film Awards for February of 2021.
Well deserved.
Good job. And thanks for the watch. And we'll have to move out of this category now, but there were so many fun narrative shorts that we were able to watch. We can't get to it all and not have.
Yeah, there was a couple in the honorable mentions that actually stuck with me, that we didn't even talk about yet. So that's okay.
Right.
We'll get there.
Yeah. Now, real quick, I want to talk about a very particular narrative short we saw that was just beautifully shot, rich in colors. This had a lot of potential. This is submitted by Satya Kalambi from India. And I'm gonna give the title a shot here. Forgive me, but I believe it's Paropakaram Idam Shariram. And if I'm messing that up, I'm sorry, but I've done my best here. This is a short that tells a very beautiful and tight story. It's only 3.5 minutes long, and the girl who's in it is adorable.
Yeah, she's super cute, and she really exudes what she's supposed to. She shows emotion where she should. She shows happiness when she should, and she's adorable.
And a gentleman who plays a beggar on the streets, also just with very, very little to work with, does so much with his expression and his look. I was really impressed.
I was too.
This. And it basically tells a story of generosity. This is about the importance of donating blood. And I think all of the necessary tools of a good narrative short are right here. But what puzzles me is at the midpoint, there are some editing issues where I sincerely feel like this was the wrong file that was uploaded. Like it wasn't complete.
Yeah, it didn't feel complete.
There's some audio things that are really troubling in the middle of it, and it just takes you right out of everything. And I feel like he shot this beautifully.
It is so pretty and there's so much eye candy.
Mm-hmm. And the audio that is there is clean, but there's these issues with the sound right there in the middle that just need to be addressed.
They don't match what should be happening. The voiceover is a little off and distant. It doesn't feel natural, like where the sound would actually come from.
Yes, that's true. Although I really appreciated the English that was put into it.
Yes, I know we watched it with subtitles,
Yeah, which is totally
which is fine. And there were some were there English words spoken? That's what I thought. And so, but it didn't take away from the story itself, because I feel like I could have watched it completely without words or subtitles at all and still completely understood what it was about and would have still felt the same way about it.
Right, I agree. I think if there was no words at all, you can pretty much follow it along, which is a brilliant testament to how it was shot and the choices and the framing. Beautiful work. I just feel like that audio craftsmanship needs to be fixed right there in the middle, really before you submit it to anything else, because that was awful.
It did, yeah. It car doors were slamming, and then the sound would happen either before or after.
Sound would drop out.
Yeah, it was like low and then high.
It's not brought back in a comfortable transitional way. It's just there, and then it's not, and then it's back again. I mean, if you can take care of those audio issues and then re-upload, I'd love to see it again. But that was directed by Satya Kalambi from India. I'm not going to try the title of the
You
film
did a
again,
great job.
but it was beautiful. Yeah. And we felt it.
I did, totally. And this was one of the ones I really wanted to make sure we talked about, just because it stuck with me, because at the end, you don't see that coming, I guess. In the 3.5 minutes, you just never know what you're going to get. And I felt like the story came full circle, and I really appreciated that.
And quickly, before we move on to narrative feature films, which I'm excited about, I've got to talk about Meet the Mackies. We got this, and this is almost like a web series. So now, going forward, we have also included a web series category that will start in March for IndieEye Film Awards, because we don't want to miss out on gems like this. Meet the Mackies is a really funny, short film, 5 minutes, 45 seconds. This was directed by Pride Pierce. And the standout here, above all, is Michelangelo Blackwell. This guy is a talented actor and can do it without saying a word.
His facial expressions this whole time.
He is fantastic to watch. He is so funny without even saying anything.
His eyes are funny. Like, just the way his look, every time he looks at the camera or makes a facial expression or moves his eyes, it's like, he's just hilarious.
Yeah, he connects with you right through his expressions, and it's so fantastic. And he plays multiple characters.
Yes.
And this just has a really fun, in living color SNL type of vibe to it.
Yes, totally skit worthy.
And I think the SNL needs to reach out to this man now and get him on. He's that good. And I want to see more that comes from Pride Pierce and Michelangelo Blackwell. I hope they continue to work together and make these things. And they need to build on this world that this character is in. Because I would love to see more.
Yeah, I mean, the scenario that he's in is so relatable, I think, to everyone, men and women. And it's a super funny premise. And both the lead actors are so funny, so great in all of the different roles that they play, because they do play multiple characters that actually talk to each other. I mean, they're a couple, and then they play another different couple that has a conversation together. And it was seamless and worked really well.
So thank you, Pride Pierce, for submitting Meet the Mackies. And thank you, Michelangelo Blackwell, for now being in my life, because I feel like there's just something from your performance that I'm going to be looking for in my actors going forward as well. Okay, we've got to leave narrative shorts. We've got to go into narrative features, because we have a lot to talk about one particular film, and then there's a couple I want to just touch on real quick. And the first one is Kali Mati, if I'm saying that right. And I believe in English that means black soil. This is another entry from India. It was directed by Hemant Kumar Mahali, I believe is the pronunciation. And this film really surprised me. And I got such an education in this story. This is a true story of a farmer from India who comes from, a small farming family, but he's a really smart kid, does really well in school and has this opportunity to continue his education, but can't because the family doesn't have the money. So he just embraces his life as a farmer, but his intelligence and his hard work help him evolve from just being his family's, farmer and going into progressing through these bigger steps until he's finally running his own giant agriculture company. And this movie really has it all. There's the family story. There's a love story. There's some confrontation with the government. And it's really fun to watch this man's journey. And it's all beautifully shot. The sound is good. There are music numbers.
Yeah, it's almost a little bit of a musical.
It was India's Sound of Music.
Yeah.
And I was really surprised because I'm not that familiar with any content from India. So watching watching this different culture was really interesting to me. And the colors are so rich and vibrant. It was acted really well, written really well, really easy to follow, and it told a wonderful story. And when I first saw it, I thought, wow, well, this is how can this movie be topped? Because look, I mean, some of the things, the editing and things that happen in it, a little
cheesy,
but
still heartwarming.
Yeah. It's still very emotional and it fits what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, because of just my ignorance in between our American Western culture and their culture, having not seen a lot of films from India, I don't know if this might just fit right in with content from there. So, it's what it is to me is a piece of art that a lot of people worked really hard on. You could see there's behind the scenes footage during the credits and stuff. Mm-hmm. And the effort that was put into this is massive, and just people nailed it. You're shooting out in harsh light, and they had all their diffusion up, and they're getting beautiful shots of everything that they need. The faces look good.
Yeah.
The wardrobe.
Yeah, the wardrobe.
Beautiful.
And the landscape, too. They had a lot of open area to film as well, and it was just, they took advantage of really showing off the land.
Yeah, this is a film that's easy to look at all the way through. And it's an hour and 45 minutes, but it's an hour and 45 minutes that's easy to watch. I watched the whole thing and was just engrossed by it, and I became a fan. And I was like, I want to start farming now. If it makes you...
Or adding dance and singing numbers into your movies.
Well, I'm probably better off with the farming. And wouldn't be very good at that either. But it did make me interested in the agriculture aspect of India and the history that this movie tells. So great job. Everyone involved with Kali Madi, thank you for submitting. It was a beautiful film. Great job. The next feature film I'm going to talk about, also about an hour and 40 minutes long, called The Cove. And this one's directed by Robert Enriquez. This man did an amazing job at doing a kind of a post-apocalyptic zombie film, and with several locations, difficult locations. Like, they're on the water.
Yeah.
They're all over areas in which they have to shoot so that it doesn't look populated. And they're shooting at night, which is always complicated.
Super difficult.
So there's a mix of all of these challenges that they overcame. It's really an impressive thing. Now, zombie movies are not my jam. You got to have a bit of a different flavor to it. Like, I like World War Z. I'd love the first 2 seasons of Walking Dead. And I think Robert Enriquez kind of taps into that because he does make it a lot about the characters. And that's how I felt when I watched The Cove, is he made it more about the characters, and there happened to be zombies involved, which is, I think that's the way you got to go. I see too many indie zombie films where it's all about just killing zombies poorly. And they didn't do that. They didn't fall into that trap. They told a story with the constant element of danger that there are zombies around. And let me tell you, these are not low budget zombies.
They look good.
They looked really good. I was impressed from the eyes, the everything that's going on with these zombies was well. And the people who acted as the zombies were very interesting. And there's this scene right at the beginning where the lead is trying to hide, and he has to be still, and this zombie is standing like right there, like 2 feet away.
Yeah.
There's just like some blades of grass between them. And it was kind of a tense moment, and I thought that was handled really well. So for me not being a zombie movie fan, I totally enjoyed the watch. And I'm looking at it all from more of a technical standpoint because, Robert, I know this had to be so tough to shoot. With so many people involved, the locations, being out there on the water as well in certain parts of the film, that's all a challenge. And congratulations to you for getting this whole thing done. And while we chose to give Best Director to somebody else, Robert, I really want you to know that I see the effort, I see the work, and you are a good director. And you and your team deserve a lot of credit for pulling off a feature-length film that was this ambitious and was telling a really good story. And just like with Etch, I think in a genre-specific awards festival, film festival, that this one's tough to compete with because The Cove really stands out considering their budget and everything that they reached for. I think they pulled it off really well.
Agreed.
And now,
ladies and gentlemen,
if this was the Oscars, we'd have a major sweep of categories for this particular submission. Our winner for Best Narrative Feature Film should be seen by everybody who submitted to any film festival because it's done on a micro budget. It's done with seven cast members, very important cast members, and it's done on a 13-day timeline in one location. And just so much can be learned by everyone from watching this and seeing what can be done, what you can pull off for $10,000 and 2 weeks of dedicated people. And what's possible no matter what your limitations are. Now, I'm just going to get this out of the way. The winner for our narrative feature film category is The Alpines. And The Alpines is directed by Dante Albane.
It has everything.
It's got everything. It's super fun to watch.
Yeah, it has romance, it has heartbreak, it has tension, it has irritation, it has suspense, it gave me nightmares.
Yeah, for a psychological thriller.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to do. And there are twists, there are turns, there are things you expect, there are things you don't expect.
Yeah.
But it's all done so well. And the secret sauce that they don't promote a whole lot is Mally Corrigan, who wrote it. She's starring in it. She also produced it. But I also found out she did the makeup. She's helping in all aspects of making this film that she wrote. And it's super impressive. Now, I don't know what the screenplay, an unedited screenplay looked like after Mally was done with it, but I know that this film is cut super tight.
Yeah.
The dialogue is great. There's nothing that's redundant.
No.
It tells you everything you need to know, and it keeps you guessing. And the editing shifts exactly where it should. It's just so... Mally Corrigan did a great job in writing and making this film happen. She is somebody I think could just walk right into a Hollywood writer's room, sit down, and start working.
It was very well done. I felt I was in it. And it takes a lot for me to really be completely involved and engrossed in a film, especially a thriller, because I like to hide my eyes from certain things and certain sounds. But I was in it. And the writing, again, the dialogue between the characters, it is so important for me that feels natural and that doesn't appear that they are saying their lines. I can hear it and it bugs me. And with this film, I just felt like it really was people that knew each other having true dialogue with each other.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, watching it and having my experience, I'm recognizing all these potential points of failure along the production chain, and like they need action scenes, they need some serious emotion at points. There's a lot Mally's asking for in the screenplay to be pulled off. And for their limited crew, their limited time, and their limited budget, they nailed it all.
Every single one of them.
Yeah, I thought, oh no, here comes a fight. This isn't going to be pulled off very well. Wow, that was fun to watch. And I'm just so blown away. I hope it's making the festival circuit right now. I hope that they get really ambitious and submit to the bigger festivals, because I think this just has everything the big festivals are looking for. This is one of those little breakouts that I think could launch careers for everybody involved.
Yeah, I didn't feel like there was one actor that overshadowed any of them. I felt like if you were to, rank them, they would all be one, because I always felt like they came out with their character when it needed, after. I don't know how I'm supposed to say this, but their character development happened throughout the film. It didn't all happen at once. It wasn't even the writing was so smart that it wasn't even told. It wasn't, hey, this guy is a blank. You find out who they are through how they interact with each other as they talk about their history together. And every single character, I felt like, had a moment to shine and really took that opportunity and did that.
I agree. It's very well proportioned for each character's moments, because it's a challenge to have 7 characters and to make them all individually unique, to make them all matter to the plot. Like, there's nobody you can throw away. Everyone plays a role. Everyone's super important. And they're very, very distinct. Like, it was easy for me to know the names very quickly.
Yes, and that's always hard for me.
Without hammering the name over and over.
First name, last name.
Right, yeah.
And addressing them that way.
That's just... And that's credit to the characters, the actors. It's credit to Mally's writing. It's credit to Dante's directing. Because there's such a wide range of emotions that he needed to get out of these actors. And they pulled it off spectacularly. And, we want to stay away from spoilers, but there are some of these characters just got bigger moments to chew screen in an uninhibited way that leads us to, maybe nominate them or have them in other categories.
Interesting.
But, it's not that any of the other cast members were less than. Their characters in this particular film played their roles, and then others had these just bigger moments.
Yeah, bigger moments.
So, because it's really even. There's a lot of equality across the board here in these performances. But, in just the technical aspects, I can't say enough about it. Very impressing. And it makes me jealous, because they had this dedicated group of people check out of their lives for 13 days to go to this location. They lived and stayed in the location they were shooting. So everything, they were on top of each other the whole time.
I mean, talk about method acting.
Really, yeah. What a great opportunity. Gosh, as a director.
Oh, I know.
You love it when you have that opportunity to have everyone stay in that space and maybe stay in that time frame. And I'd love to speak with both Dante and Mally and ask them about the experience behind the scenes. I hope they have behind the scenes stuff and they put all that out, and I'd love to see it, because that just seems like a great experience. And a wonderful way to pull off a film if you can. I mean, that's generally how studios are able to pull that off. But just to get 7 people to be in one place for that amount of time and make sure you get the coverage and you get the performances you want. And while we're always up against the clock, they know that they can pull a camera out and shoot it any time of the day. So just excellent work to everyone involved with the Alpines. thank you for submitting the film. That was one of our first that we got in also. And I've seen it several times, and I'm a huge fan. And you're going to know the names of the people who worked on this movie. And I'll be able to say, I saw their movie, The Alpines, before like a lot of other people did. Yay me. But yeah, I'm just happy. I want to see these guys go forward. And I hope someday that we end up at the same place so that I could just, shake their hand and tell them great job and how much I enjoyed it in person. But until then, we all have to remain separated, apparently. So we won't see each other anytime soon. But we can go right into what Best Actor at this point, because we have to talk about Aaron Lotta Morissette, who plays Zach in The Alpines. He is our Best Actor for IndieEye Film Awards in February of 2021 for his role in The Alpines. And, Zach, I'm going to call him Zach. That's how good Aaron was, because I want to call him Zach. He had such a fun arc, and it's not that...
But did he?
Well, yeah.
But did he?
I would say that I think through most of the film, you always kind of know where Zach is with things and how he's going to play things out. But then there's just an opportunity that comes later on for him to just let it all go. And I will say there was a very Heath Ledger-esque feel to a scene that comes later in the film, where I just felt like he had a gravity and sincerity to his character's truth that just jumped out of the screen, commanded attention, and made things really, really interesting. And that the way everyone reacted to that was so great. Aaron Lotta Morissette, great job, my man. Great directing by Dante Aubin. And it feels like honestly, Dante, there was a lot of talent in this cast to begin with. I'm not sure how much you had to squeeze the performances out here. But I know how that goes. But really, it takes a combination of a director and an actor to make it all come through on screen. And they did really well. And we've got to now talk about Daniel Victor, who
has won for Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, and here's the catch. We didn't have a Best Supporting Actor to begin with.
Added it for him.
Daniel Victor's portrayal as Roger in The Alpines was so great that we thought, well, we can't leave these other people out. And that's probably my main criticism with The Alpines is that there's too many good characters. So it didn't feel right to leave anybody out. So we have a Best Supporting category now. Daniel Victor, you have won our Best Supporting Actor category. Congratulations to you.
Yes.
But in addition to that, we've also added Best Ensemble Cast. And to the surprise of absolutely nobody, the Best Ensemble Cast goes to The Alpines. Yay! Because you all knocked it out of the park. Every one
of you, yeah.
Katrina Flick, Jesse Mack, Nigel Quinn, Michael Taveria, and writer Mally Corrigan herself. You guys were all phenomenal. And the combination of them all felt very natural. It did feel like these were all old friends coming together, and they had a sense of familiarity to them, but they had been separated long enough to where there was that bit of awkwardness and trying to reassociate with somebody. So just all together, you guys blew us away. I hope that everyone gets a chance to watch The Alpines. I have no idea what their plans are right now as they go through the festival circuit, but it's going to end up somewhere. And there's a great review of The Alpines on filmthreat.com. Go look that up and click on the links that we have on our winners page. It'll take you to more Alpine stuff. Follow them Follow the movie's Instagram and everything, because you want to know when you'll have the opportunity to see this movie. It is very much worth the time and effort to keep up on it and track its progress, because that leads us to our Best Director category, which, I don't want to shock anybody, is Dante Albane from
The Alpines.
The Alpines. For director to director, Dante, fabulous job. I feel inspired by the work of you and your team to push these characters, to the edge, to get what you got out of them, and the craftsmanship involved, the thought that was involved in putting this together. Just loved all of the decisions. I know you edited the film too. And
wow.
Yeah. And they kept it at an hour and 33 minutes, it's a super tight hour and 33 minutes. Every second, every frame counts. And you just did a masterful job of getting these performances out of people, having the vision, and I'm sure you worked on it with others involved, but getting the vision and the look of everything so good. I'm just at a loss of words. I'm just gushing about this film because I didn't expect to see this at this level. I mean, they did this for $10,000, I believe.
Yeah, it's super impressive.
And I'm sure a lot of that just went into securing the location and probably buying props.
I was going to say, practical effects that they needed.
So, I mean, everything is on screen, and it shows that you all care very much. Dante, you knocked it out of the park. Mally, you're super impressive. Everybody involved in the cast, excellent job. Thank you for the experience. And I feel so privileged that I've seen it, and a lot of people haven't.
Yeah, and now you guys owe me a night of sleep because I had really awful dreams, only because I'm such a visual person. The performances really affected me. And, that's not good or bad. It's just what happens to me. It happens. I watch a lot of true crime and it happens to me frequently, but it was impactful and it was a good watch.
Absolutely. Great job, everyone involved with the Alpines. All right, let's wrap this up. We've gushed enough about these films that we love, and we're so happy that all these submissions came in. I'm truly overwhelmed, and I sincerely want to thank everybody for taking the time to consider our little IndieEye Film Awards for your project. Everything was watched with great interest and consideration. Any of you who submitted, if you have projects in the future, please come back and let us see where you've gone from here. We can't wait to watch.
Yeah, our festivals they run monthly. So if you have a new project that's dropping in March, well, come hang out with us in March and we'll watch your next project.
Yeah, our next submission date opens March 1st.
Yes.
Right? And so we'll have about a week off for us. And then we'll be open March 1st to watch new stuff and do another podcast at the end of March and talk about what we've seen since then. In the meantime, you can subscribe to the podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube.
Go ahead, sorry.
At IndieEye Film Awards.
You can follow us on Instagram at IndieEye Film Awards.
That's original. Or you can always, bookmark that website, IndieEyeFilmAwards.com.
And on IndieEyeFilmAwards.com, you can see a list of all the winners, including the honorable mentions.
Yes, and we have some images. We have some trailers there. If you click onto the images, some of them are links to your social media or your websites. There, whatever we could pull for this particular list that we have, and that'll do it. I guess we'll check out of here until next month. And thank you for submitting to IndieEye.
And thanks for listening.
If you'd like your project discussed on the podcast, go to IndieEyeFilmAwards.com and submit to our open monthly competition. Find us on Instagram and YouTube, IndieEye Film Awards. Thanks for listening to this episode of IndieEye.